All right, today we're jumping into something really cool, a massive collision of high fantasy and some seriously deep philosophy. This isn't a battle that takes place on some physical field, oh no. This is a fight for the very nature of reality itself. So get ready for the Hirschland versus the Stein-Feuermann.
Okay, let's just dive right in, because that phrase you see on the screen, it says it all. This is a metaphysical cage match. We're not just looking at some typical good versus evil monster fight. No. We are witnessing a battle for the very definition of what it means to be, to exist, and to even have a self.
So, it's time to meet our combatants. In one corner, you've got the very principle of stewardship, of preservation, and in the other, the spirit that wants nothing more than to deny and destroy. These two are polar opposites in literally every way imaginable. So on one side, we have the Hirschland. You can call it the dragon stag. He's the ancient preserver, the guardian of existence itself. And his opponent? The Steinfeuermann, the stone fireman, a gargoyle that embodies the spirit that always denies, a being of pure, unadulterated negation. Now, this is where it gets really interesting, because their conflict plays out in the very way they speak. Their language is a weapon. The Hirschland uses this heavy, almost biblical rhythm. Think J.R.R. Tolkien, using ancient words to literally slow the battle down. But the Stein-Feuermann fires back with this razor-sharp modern irony, speaking at the frantic speed of a storm, trying to just slice right through all that ancient weight. So what are they actually fighting about? Well, it all comes down to two completely different ideas about what it means to exist. The whole fight is really between the interconnected web and the solitary eye. You see, the Hirschland is the champion of what's called the web of weird, which is this idea of fate and total interconnectedness. Its core belief is that existence needs intersubjectivity. Now, in plain English, that just means you can't be an I without a world of not I to relate to. You just can't exist in a vacuum of your own ego. And then you've got the Gargoyle. It embodies the anti-Tathentundlung, which literally means the anti-creative act. Its whole philosophy is just active negation. It believes that real freedom, true power, is found by severing every single connection, by taking a pair of scissors and cutting every last thread in that web of wired. And here it is, the absolute core of their disagreements. The Hirschland defends the not I, arguing that your sense of self needs an external world to define itself against. But the Gargoyle, it falls into something called the Fichtean error, which is a huge philosophical blind spot. It truly believes an absolute I can get ultimate power by just consuming everything else. And as we're about to see, that belief is basically a recipe for self-destruction. So naturally, this philosophical war is perfectly mirrored in their weapons and abilities. And we're not talking about your basic swords and shields here. This is a battle of light versus lightning, of patience versus pure, frantic speed. And this table just illustrates their conflict so brilliantly. The Hirschland has the false sun, a light that reveals truth without burning anything. Its greatest power is in the runes of weight. Now compare that to the Stein-Feuermann's arsenal, blue forked lightning, which is basically destructive, cynical intellect, and the volcanic blight, a power designed to just consume everything. One is all about preservation and revelation, the other is about frantic, total annihilation. It really does boil down to this question, doesn't it? Can the frantic, nihilistic speed of a storm actually overwhelm the slow, grinding, and inevitable power of judicial patience? Can you really destroy consequences just by moving too fast to notice them? And this brings us to the endgame. So who wins this metaphysical cage match? Well, the answer reveals this absolutely fascinating paradox about the very nature of negation itself. Okay, so the Stein-Feuermann's final move is to go all in. It unleashes its ultimate weapon, the volcanic blight. The goal is simple and it's absolute. Burn the entire web of wired, completely erase the world, and stand alone as the undisputed absolute I. But right here, this is where the philosophical trap gets sprung, because what happens to a spirit that is defined by denial when there's nothing left to deny? I mean, think about it. What happens to a fire when it finally runs out of fuel to burn? Because by winning, the Gargoyle loses. It's a total paradox. This slide walks us through its self-destruction. So, step 1, it actually succeeds. It burns the world, the not I. But with the external world gone, it loses the very resistance that gave it definition. With no fuel, its internal fire loses all friction. And finally, that fire turns inward, instantly transforming it into a hollow, static monument,
a stone gargoyle frozen in regret.
And that, right there, is the ultimate verdict. Negation cannot be absolute. Destruction is basically a parasite on creation. It needs something to destroy to even exist. The Hirschland, the steward, didn't actually have to land a killing blow. All it had to do was endure. It just had to wait.
So the key takeaway here is a lesson literally written in stone. The story of the Stein Feuermann is a timeless warning that pure, toxic negativity is ultimately self-consuming. To have an identity, to even know who you are, you need a world to push back against. And that really leaves us with a question, doesn't it? What parts of our own world are we tempted to burn, forgetting that they might just be the very things that give us our shape